Hey everyone! So the question was, can we make Elton without weaving the shank? And the answer is yes, of course we can. That's the surprise and delight about this ring. So starting in the same way, I have 28 inches of 18 gauge round soft copper wire. I found the middle. I straddled the shank side on the size of the ring mandrel that I want for the ring. So this is about a size 10. So I straddled the metal first, and then I wrapped my coils so that I have 7 down here and I have 6 loops up here. I need 6 loops to catch the stone. And then I have my 2 ends pointing up. So 6 loops, 7 loops, and the 2 ends pointing up from your stone. Pretend the wood is the stone. I use this particular size dowel because I'm going to wrap this little Larimar in a ring, and the diameter of the Larimar happens to be the diameter of this, the width of the Larimar happens to be the diameter of this dowel. So once I get it, I'm going to use my rubber mallet, and just like in the tutorial, I'm going to just tap the spring out of this coil. Just some gentle love taps so that you can hang on to it without it springing back at you. Doesn't actually need to be a whole lot. While it's on your mandrel, take your Sharpie marker and make marks across where the shank needs to end for your size and where the top of the ring begins, and that can just be an approximate right there. Slide the whole thing off the mandrel. Make sure to hold on to it. And right here at these lines, just like in the tutorial, I'm going to pull the first one out. I'm going to make a very sharp 90-degree bend straight across all these bands. So you hold it right there. I like to get a pre-bend on this 90-degree going back. We're going to encircle all of these. So once I get that little bend right there to show me where to go, take a bend at the end of the wire, get it going through all of these, give a nice tight squeeze when it's cleanly around all these bands in a nice straight way. Okay, straighten out this leading wire a little bit. Hold right here across your bands, give it just 1 millimeter space away from this one so that you can bring this guy back around. When you get it close, let your plier help you close it in. Flip it over and do the same. Hold it right there, give yourself a little 1 millimeter space, bend. Might have to turn this guy a little bit. Hold real tight right here. Get him in there. Hold everything. Bend straight across there, as straight as, as evenly as you can. Take a nice squeeze. Squeeze from this side. And I like to come back to the front for a third time if I'm not going to weave the shank. It's tough on your hands with 18 gauge. You could do this with 20 gauge as well. I'll hold this side nice and tight, and I'm going to get a slight bend on it, and then I'm going to cut it. Leaving just enough that I can turn that down on the inside of the ring. Nice and tight. Just just like that. You shouldn't feel that. It's okay if there's a little bit, but try to get it as clean as you can. We're gonna bury it underneath the head of the ring anyway. And now, rather than weaving the shank, which is where the original Elton leaves you, right here we're just going to take another bend on the opposite side. You're looking to be, as even as you can be with your lines. Make a nice sharp 90-degree bend. Get it laying down the best that you can. I like to hold it right here and start that little pre-bend for the 90-degree. This is the toughest part of the ring. It's toughest on your hands. Come back through. Try to keep this as clean as you can when you come through. Don't let the wires crush in on themselves. Keep them all side by side. But try to get it nice and straight across there. Nice big tap. Okay? Hold up here. Just keep all your loops together, your coil together. Hold it right there so you can get a nice sharp bend over it. When you get it, hit it with your plier. Turn to the other side. Hold it right there so you can get a nice sharp bend right up against your coils. Bend the tip. Get through the shank. And take it from the other side and pull down. Land that wire. Tap it all. Try to get these, as straight as you can and as even as you can. They'll show on the side of the ring. And since I ended with 3, I'll come back over here, hold my coils, get my third one bent down, and I'll come to this side, get the pre-bend on it, to take the cut, and work that tip down. Okay? So this is kind of like an adjustable, right? It'll slide back and forth a little bit, so don't take your curve out, but just tap all your coils back into shape. Looks really good. Now let's get back on our ring mandrel. Remember, this is the top of the ring. We know that because our bends start right here, so this is the bottom. Slide back onto your mandrel, slide back into a place where you can hammer it. And from here now, you're just going to hammer your shank down. I'm just going to scooch this tape a little bit. I'll get everything nice and tight. I'll go with a metal hammer, and I'm going to hit my shank all the way around and harden it up. This is going to grow the ring. As we hit the metal, it's going to widen up, so expect the ring to grow a size. I started at 10. It's probably going to end up to be an 11. So if you wanted a 10, I might have started smaller, knowing that I'm going to hammer and enlarge the ring. I'll hit gently on my wraps. And then I'll hit all of the wraps all together, all the way around. You can see the texture. I'm going to move my tape so I can grow this ring for you. So after you hammer it, then, pull down on the mandrel, on the wire across the mandrel. You'll feel it tighten up. Once you have it all hammered evenly going in the one direction, take the coil off the mandrel, flip it over, and come right back onto the mandrel. The mandrel is tapered, so to get an even shank, we hammer it, you see, on both sides. So I'm going to slide it all the way down until it resists, and then I'm going to hammer again. Hammer slightly downward, just sliding down the slide down the ring mandrel, and just hammer kind of with the side. What you're doing is hitting the bands together. Keep tight on your mandrel. And when you're happy with how everything feels with your shank, go ahead and take it off the mandrel. Let's get the wood out of it. And now remember, the hammered side is the bottom, so up here, just like in the other tutorial, we're going to make sure we're level, and we should be with our wraps. I'm going to take the two outer loops and I'm just going to fold them straight down. Try to get the bends even and right there at your wraps. If you need to get a little plier to help you sharpen up that corner, get it right there and just do a little tap. Lay them nice and even. That's pretty good. I'm going to look up top and make sure that our oval is nice. It might be off a little bit, and then we'll fit our stone. So you see it's a little bit wide, right? So before I set my stone in there, I'm going to go ahead and just decrease the size by squeezing just slightly. If you can't do it with your fingers, you can get your plier to help you. Keep your coils lined up. And you just tap right here. Hold it all. Give a slight inward bend. Not bend, but just a little inward pressure. You see that little curve I made, that tiniest curve. This side too, hold all your bands. Give the slightest inward pressure. Just a slight turn. And it makes like a little indent, like a little peanut shape. Do both, both sides evenly, the best that you can. Okay? Keep these shank bands just tapped. We're going to hammer it again, so don't worry. Don't smash down on them and ruin the curve. So I just narrowed the intersection of my wraps here, and now my stone sits right on those little rails, and that's kind of how I size, the final width of this ring. And now I'm going to take these two wires and create a little seat for my stone. I'll have to keep tapping all this down until things are more together. If you want to do this on your ring mandrel, if it's easier for you, that's fine. I tend to just do it out in the air. So I'm going to hold right here from below, right at the edge of my bands, and I'm not pulling, I'm not pushing, I'm just making a 90-degree turn, and I'm letting the wire draw from the loop. I'm going to turn it over, so I use the same hand, same pressure. I'm just going to grab it right here at the side of the bands, and I'm going to make a 90-degree turn. Okay? Make like a little person up there, a little shape. And we'll do this side. Get right at the edge of your bands. Tap that one a little more flat. hold on to your loop and just make a 90-degree turn and let the wire draw in. Flip it over, do the same thing right here, hold it right at your bands, make a nice 90-degree turn, let it come in. Tap this way, make sure they're level, make sure that those little turns right there sit nice, make sure you're level. Go from both directions. It's a wide band. Okay, so when I look at it, it should be fairly level, enough to sit the stone. I'll fit my stone back in here, and for me there's okay that there's a little bit hanging out because I'm going to wrap to it. But if you want to close that, if you got too much, you come from underneath, get your plier right here, and just push a little. Or you can try to make that turn a little bit more if you can get your hand in there. Just keep your bands, there we go, a little bit more. Just always tapping right here since we're not weaved. Okay, so whenever you see those get out of alignment, you just tap, always tapping your shank. Keep these from turning inward or swaying. Keep them square. If you're not going to weave this, you got to tap it a lot more as you're forming it. And then when we lock the stone in, we'll go back onto the mandrel and shape it for a final time. That's pretty good for now. So now I'm going to peel this one down, the next two. And you know, before you do here, make sure that your bands down here stay nice, so you got a nice even turn. And I'm just going to see how far out my distance is to see if I need to shorten them up, and that's quite a ways out. I want it a little bit smaller. So this is how I'm going to size, just like in the Elton tutorial, the full tutorial. I show us that we can size for our stone right here and right here. And if I need to shorten this wire, I'm just going to get a smaller plier, a little 1mm flat, get a 2mm flat, whatever you can work. And then right here, I'm going to hold it. I could measure if I want, and I'm just going to make a bend and raise this seat slightly. That shortens the distance of this wire as well. Try to make them even on each side. You have plenty of time and room for adjustments. You know, we still have to do some tying. Remember to keep your shank together because it moves since it's not weaved. And we'll just make a little turn and a little turn. That raised this wire a little bit. So when I take it down, you see it's closer to my edges now. And I'm just going to, with my fingers, shape, literally shape these bare wires. I'm going to leave a little bit of gap because I want to be able to sew some decorative wraps on. So now I'm going to take my next pair. If you need your plier to help you, you can, but just part them right here. Remember, it's an unweaved shank, so you're always tapping that. And just turn it down. You know, make sure it kind of curves right there above the other wire. Hold everything steady. Check your shank. Just turn this inside wire down. If you need to shape it with the plier, you could do that as well. Bend it back up and do just what we did. I like to squeeze it a little more narrow since this is a little more narrow stone, just to fit it a little bit. And then you can do, that's it. And then you can do some decorative tying and such up here. Make sure that your stone is sitting flat on the shank. Remember, it's unweaved, so it shifts on us. Now that the ring is on here, you can, Remember, the stone's not locked in, but since we have it all bent down now, you can seat this back down on the mandrel. This ring is going to grow because I went up to shorten my wires. So this is now probably going to be more like a size 11, 12, maybe 13, 12 and a half, 13. I could probably grow it more if I hammered it out more. But to shorten these up now, so now I have the mandrel to help me, I can pinch these sides in a little bit. If you can't do it with your hands, whoop, just a little bit like that. Make sure your stone stays nice and seated. And that's a pretty good fit. While the stone is in here, without causing too much vibration, or you can take the stone out, just use a rubber mallet and tap these wraps in a little bit to kind of cinch in the size of where it is now. Tap along your shank. Remember, the stone's not captured there. Just going to get everything kind of aligned again. Come back up here. And now I can just do my wrapping or weaving or, decorative embellishments there. And see, because I tapped it some more, my ring actually even grew a little bit. Okay, so it's going to be a size 13. So anyway, now you can wrap it. You can do whatever you want with these tops. If you want to capture it with some, decorative curly, give yourself a little more wire so that when you go and curl in, you have more wire to pull. So maybe you don't do these little guys. Anyway, that's the little follow-up to Elton. I hope you liked it. Much easier way to do the ring if you don't want to weave the shank. Still works out beautifully. Captures a lot of different stones. All right, you guys, we'll see you on the other side. Okay, you guys, so I've got Elton without a weaved shank here. I've just sized for my stone, and now just some decorative wrapping. I'm using 26 gauge, and I'm wrapping both of these frame arms together, and then I'm jumping to the single one in the middle. When I get to here, I'll grab both the bottom and the middle, and then I'll come back and wrap. So you can do these however you want. When it's finished, it'll kind of look like this one, right? This is a beautiful ring. This is Elton when he's weaved. It's a lot more work, but you could kind of do the top like this with 26 gauge. I like a simple look, so I'm not going to turn anything in. The finished look will kind of be more like this. This is using 22 gauge half round, and you'll get that kind of look on it. All right, so enjoy Elton, you guys. Leave me comments, give me thumbs up, and if you make them, please look me up on social media. I would love to see your beautiful work. Let me know how you feel about Elton and if you enjoy making it without the weaved shank. We'll see you on the other side. Much love.